How mateys, and welcome back to my channel. I have speculated about a couple of things in the meanwhile, and have made this hypothesis about Blackbeard's curse.
Now, what do I mean with curse? There are actually a number of examples like this. Probably the most famous is Tutankhamun's curse, but you might add to that what happened between Jesse James and Robert Ford, or again the Templar's curse, where Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the Templar Knights, was said to have cursed both the Pope and the King of France, and both have died within a short period of time. But back to Blackbeard. Now, there are actually several things, as I already mentioned, that are quite uncommon, let's say, in the way he behaved, especially in his last 6 months of life or so. Let's recap a bit. He sent Stede Bonnet to ask for royal pardon, but Stede Bonnet got his pardon alright, so he went back to Edward Teach, except that Teach wasn't there anymore. He marooned half of the crew and left away with his ship, which already makes little sense, and even less if you think that he actually got the royal pardon in another city. So why just leave the part of the crew behind? Now, the main theory is that he wanted to reduce the number of the crew members as much as possible, because then he could have more shares of the plunder, which mathematically makes sense, of course. Now, briefly, what happens is that two sloops commanded by Lieutenant Robert Maynard, namely the HMS Pearl and the HMS Lime, attack Blackbeard around the shores of Ocracoke Island. Now, before they actually engage into actual combat, a strange episode takes place. Now, I've got here the description by Captain Johnson in his famous book, The General History of the Murders and Robberies of the Most Notorious Pirates, and in this, according to Captain Johnson, this is what happens. Now, Blackbeard says, "Damn you villains, who are you, and from whence came you?" Then Maynard answers, "You may see by our colors we are not pirates." Then Blackbeard tells him to come aboard. Maynard says no, and then Blackbeard does this. Now, I'm just reading from the book. Upon this, Blackbeard took a glass of liquor and drank to him with these words: "Damnation seize my soul if I give you quarters or take any from you." Now, this act of drinking a glass of liquor, whatever that was, kind of sounds like an oath, a curse, whatever. It is interesting, however. Now, briefly, we don't actually know who Captain Johnson was. Someone thinks that this Captain Charles Johnson is, in fact, Daniel Defoe, but it's just a theory, we'll never know. Anyways, the book was published in 1724, which means around like 5 or 6 years after Blackbeard's death. So you might wonder if that's accurate at all, or if it's just stuff of legends. Anyways, there is another testimony of this episode, and it's even more explicit as to the curse. Now, the second testimony is actually a song. You might wonder, well, how accurate can a song be? Especially this song, because this song was written by a boy around 13 years old. Ah, rubbish, you probably think. Well, before you say it's rubbish, the boy was actually Benjamin Franklin. Yeah, that Benjamin Franklin. Now, listen closely. I'm not going to sing, because I'm terrible at singing, but I'll just read you a few lines of this song. Teach replied unto Maynard, "You no quarters here shall see, but be hanged on the main yard, you and all your company." Maynard said, "I none desire of such knaves as thee and thine, none I'll give." Teach then replied, "My boys, give me a glass of wine." He took the glass and drank damnation unto Maynard and his crew, to himself and generation. Then the glass away he threw, and then basically they engage into combat. Now, this is actually even more interesting because, first of all, Blackbeard is drinking wine, then he drank to damnation unto Maynard and the following generation, supposedly. Now, this sounds to me as a curse, even more than in Captain Johnson's tale. Plus, the act of throwing away the glass, it sounds, like what people do in those Greek weddings where they break glasses, etc. So it sounds like something that would really underline an oath or a curse. You're just swearing that something has to happen in the future, one way or another. So I find that very interesting, even though it's just from a song. What happens next basically is that Blackbeard dies. He's shot 20 times, stabbed and cut around 6 times. Eventually he dies, he's beheaded, the body keeps circling around the ship for 3 times, and that's it. Now you might wonder, what have been the effect of the curse? I mean, did Maynard die the day after, or was cursed for generation, etc.? Well, yes and no. What happens is that the crew was supposed to receive a reward, around £400, to be shared equally among both crews. The 2 crews actually fight over that reward because of the 2 sloops, the Pearl actually engaged into combat, the other didn't. So the crew actually thought they were entitled to have a larger part of the reward. Then they find out that Maynard and his men actually stole £90 from Blackbeard's ship. Anyways, there was no treasure other than, tobacco and sugar and that kind of stuff. For 4 years, none of the people participating in the battle saw a penny. So it took 4 years to share the reward. And even after that, Maynard is never promoted, and he basically dies as a lesser-known officer in the British Navy. So, were there actually pirate curses, as we see in the movies, or were they just made up later on? Did the pirates actually believe in curses? Pirates were first of all sailors, and they believed in a lot of stuff, just like the Flying Dutchman and the Kraken and these kind of legends. Now, if you're interested in this sea lore and legends, please let me know, write a comment, because I wouldn't mind making more videos about that. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe to my channel, you landlubbers.